Yeah. Blackjack. Life is like the game of cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother. What's up? Straight game.
Sony and them, they always think they can just bully. As Mr. Clinton said, they gangster.
I mean, you can hear about it if you're not. You don't realize how
Standing out here in front of Sony. They got the police on top of the roof.
His name is Ahmet. He literally said, "You mean to tell me you are giving those N-words royalties?"
Press conference involving Ed Sheeran lawsuit with Marvin Gaye family. They on top of the roof. You think something bad gonna happen?
Good morning. I'm Attorney Ben Crump along with Attorney Keisha Rice and Attorney Patrick Frank and Attorney Chris O'Neill. We have the honor of representing the estate of Ed Townsend. His daughter Catherine Townsend is here with us today and will also address you about this landmark lawsuit that she's bringing on behalf of not just her family, but also on behalf of black songwriters and musicians all over America. We are also very, very proud to have with us a musical icon, the folk legend himself, the great George Clinton, who has always been a standard bearer for protecting and fighting for the copyright laws for black musicians that are often marginalized. He himself, with Attorney Rice help and others, were able to win his lawsuit to regain back his copyright on so many of his legendary hits, like Atomic Dog, like P-Funk, like Flashlight, and the list goes on and on and on. So we're so honored that George Clinton, who has established the National Black Songwriters Association to help black artists, George Clinton has been sampled so many times. The people use him as the example of what it means when you don't give proper credit to a composition. And he will tell you in his own words as only the music icon, the man who created Parliament, the man who created Funkadelic, the man who created the P-Funk can say, yeah, I give you George Clinton.
When it comes to intellectual property, this is the theft of the music, is the new sharecropping. Not only do they take the music and the land back, they take the 40 acres in the mule back. They get it all. They get it all from the money that's being made from the merchandise, from the intellectual property, and they take it back at the end of it. So the artists don't have the chance. I have at least 25 artists in my band that never got paid for all those samples that you heard. Now, we're just not getting the rights back to the masters and the publishers. Most of them don't even know about that. They don't even know that there's a copyright revision. Most people in the business don't know that. Our intention is to bring all of that out into the open. Because knowing how much it cost me to fight this for the last 10 years, 15 years, I know most people don't have that kind of money to fight this stuff. So I'm glad to be here with Ben and Kathy, who've been working together a long time, to make sure that it's on the front line this time. I've been trying to do this for a long time to get it to the public. We're here now. The sharecropping has to end. It has to end now. Because you can't leave it to your heirs, and it's supposed to be something you can leave to your heirs. That don't happen with John Lennon. That don't happen with Elvis Presley. You know what I'm saying? It just don't happen to nobody. Okay, so I'm here with Kathy, Ben. We're gonna fight this to the end.
That's right. That's right. So many artists have reached out to Catherine Townsend and say, don't stop. What you're doing is for all of us. And I think you're going to see the young black artists are already, as Mr. Clinton can explain better than anybody else, they are not letting them steal from them and exploit them and intentionally misappropriate their music. They are saying, no, we're going to get this right. And what is so great about what Kathy is doing and then George is we're trying to educate every artist. After 35 years, no matter what bad deal you entered into, you get to come back and reclaim the rights to what you created. And so I think that is significant. And then the fact that the judge has said, quite literally, this is going to a jury. This young white upstart to say, we're not going to respect this black musical legend, but we're going to empower this young white musician. And you have to ask yourself why. It is because it is systematic racism in the music industry that historically has denied black artists and songwriters what were due to them. And to make it just as simple as possible, we are here drawing a line in the sand with this lawsuit. The judge has already denied Sony's motion for summary judgment to say that they acknowledge that there were substantial similarities between the two compositions, that a jury should decide whether or not Ed Sheeran and Sony stole, exploited, and misappropriated Ed Townsend and Marvin Gaye's composition, the song that you all know as Let's Get It On. You know, they just kick down the little black musicians and say, you can't take on us. We are a major billion-dollar corporation. Well, guess what? Attorney Keisha Rice, Attorney Chris O'Neal, we're saying, all right, we'll see you in court. And we will take this fight on one Goliath at a time. We got all our rocks for our slingshot. George Clinton taught me that.
Have you talked to Kanye West at all? Kanye West has been pretty vocal about this.
Well, Kanye West, Pharrell, everybody has been standing in the record industry who didn't write the composition, who didn't work tirelessly coming up with the notes and the words and the melody and the harmony. They get to pass it on to their children. Now, what kind of justice is that? So that's why we're here standing with Catherine Townsend, so she don't have to stand by herself. That's right. And she's going to address you, and then Attorney Keisha Rice and all of us will try to take some of your questions. So please, without further ado, I introduce you all to Catherine Townsend, the protector of her father, who was a great singer and songwriter, legacy, Ed Townsend.
I want to thank my legal team, George, my dear lifetime friend, and his wife, Carlon, and all of the supporters that are here. But the bullying stops today.
Right.
My father, Ed Townsend, sat with me endless hours and told me, don't let them take my work. So I have dedicated my life to rescuing, restoring to humanity of those who are the least, the lost, the left behind, and the forgotten, which are the heirs and the rightful owners of legacies in our black communities in the music industry. I am proud to speak out. And the coldest part of it all is if they had just come to me, we could have talked about it. We wouldn't be standing here today. But no, theft and bullying has been the only priority of the record label's agenda. It stops today, Sony, Atlantic, and all the rest of them. We're coming for our 40 acres and a mule plus. So hear us and interest. And know that we are not going to be silent. I've been silent basically throughout this entire fight. But it don't stop till my casket drop. It is our time and we're here today. God bless you.
God bless you. And you see why Ed Townsend's daughter said, if nobody else is going to do it, I'm going to take on Goliath. I will play the role of David in this musical sharecropping. And I'm so proud, Attorney Rice, Attorney O'Neill, and I, we're going to be working with George Clinton on this National Black Songwriters Association. Matt Goose and others are going to try to help young artists who were not sophisticated about the intricacies of the music industry and signed away everything because they didn't have good managers like Cameron and Max. And so now the music revision from Congress says that after 35 years, you have a right to reclaim your royalties and your copyright and your intellectual property and your masters. And so we want to educate, engage, and empower people, these black musicians, white musicians, Hispanic musicians, native musicians, whoever created the intellectual property, whoever had the creative genius not to be marginalized, disenfranchised, and swept under the rug because the music industry has said what Ahmad, his name is Ahmet, he literally said, you mean to tell me you are giving those N-words royalties? Direct quote. Because the music industry never meant to acknowledge black people's creative genius and give them what they were legally entitled to. And so this is about righting the wrong, not just for Ed Townsend, but for so many black artists. And you know, as Attorney Rice said, why is it that people will attempt to castigate and attack and condemn Catherine Townsend when she stands up and say, my family wants what we are legally entitled to? They did not do that when David Bowie, they didn't do it with Elvis Presley, they didn't do it with Queen, they didn't do it with John Lennon. So why is it when a black musician or songwriter, George, stands up and say, we want what's illegally entitled to us, they start to try to attack us and say, oh, you want a lottery.
Copyright troll.
You're a copyright troll. Yes. Well, you need to say the same thing about Elvis Presley family. You need to say the same thing about David Bowie's family. You need to say the same thing about John Lennon family. Because Ed Townsend family, Marvin Gaye family, George Clinton family has every right as the creative geniuses behind the work to stand up and say, music industry, pay what you owe. We'll take questions.